Before you invest thousands of dollars in an NLP training, make sure you're going to get your money's worth. Stay tuned. When it comes to NLP training, where do you start and where do you end? If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. What do you do when you want to do an NLP training? Where do you start? What do you look for? Look for me. That's what you should do. You should always look for me. What if you can't find me? Look harder. Seriously though, what do you do when you can't attend one of my trainings? There are plenty of good NLP trainers out there. The closest one to you or the cheapest one is likely not the best one to go to though. First thing I would suggest if you want to learn NLP and say money is short and maybe you can't travel somewhere to learn it, I would suggest starting a practice group. You can use Craigslist, Meetup, Facebook. I would definitely start a Facebook page and a Meetup page. Craigslist, depending on where you live, may or may not work very well. Get a book, find people to practice with, and start working on it that way. And practicing, go step by step through the book. Make sure it's a beginner's book. That's what I did. I started a practice group and went through a book. I found people to practice with, and that's how I got started. You might be thinking, okay, well, sure, you've had a lot of training, you've done a lot of practice, you're good at this stuff, I'm not good at this stuff, I can't start a practice group. That's bullshit, because I started a practice group before I had any formal training. The reason I started a practice group is I was trying to learn from books, and when I couldn't learn just by reading it, which you're not going to get NLP just by reading it, I went out and found people who would practice with me. And I did achieve some level of proficiency, I guess, so that whenever I did start doing my training, I understood the concepts right away. They weren't foreign to me, and I had some experience practicing with other people. So it definitely helped, and I believe I got a lot more out of my first training as a result of having that practice. Now again, it really helps to have someone a trainer, teach it to you, who can teach you the concepts, be very clear about it, who can demonstrate the processes, and then supervise your practice as you demonstrate. You're not going to get that if you're starting your own practice group and there's nobody in the practice group who has a lot of training. That's the downside to it. But at least it gets you started. You run into some of the similar problems when you do NLP training that's online. Sure, you might be able to get to see the master do it. You might get to see them demonstrate it, lecture it. They're not going to be able to supervise you as you do the practice and when you have questions. So that's the downside to the online stuff. What I'm going to give you now is 3 tips that you can take with you when it comes to getting started on your NLP journey if you're ready to start your formal training. And then after that, I'll talk a little bit about if you've already started your training or you already are pretty good at NLP and you've done plenty of training. First tip is don't dabble. What I mean by that is, of course, you need to dabble a little bit in NLP to find out if it's worth it to you, if you feel like you can believe in NLP and that it's going to help you. Dabble to that point. Once you get to that point, you need to commit to the training. You need to commit to getting really good at NLP. If you dabble, your results are going to be rather mediocre. It's just like anything else. If you dabble in martial arts, you're going to get somewhat good. If you dabble in weightlifting, you might gain a little bit of strength, but if it's sporadic and there's no consistency, it's not going to really help you. I think a lot of people do dabble with NLP, and that's why you hear people come back and say, well, it doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, well, if you dabble and you never really develop the skills and you never really understand how the processes work and why they work, your results are always going to be mixed. They're not going to be predictable, and that's when you have people saying, oh, it doesn't work. Commit to it 100%, put in the practice, make it a daily thing, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes a day. It's a lot better than an hour here and an hour there. So commit to it. 100%. And that goes with anything. I mean, if you're not going to get good at anything or great at anything for sure if you just dabble in it. Find a good teacher. That's the second tip. They don't have to be the best teacher in the world, but look for a teacher who tells you who their teachers are. Find out who their teachers are and check them out. Also, it really helps if their teachers have endorsed them, or if renowned teachers, well-established teachers, have endorsed or have given some sort of testimonial for that teacher. That's kind of what I look for. It's not always a foolproof way to go about it. I've met bad teachers who actually are pretty well known in NLP. I've met some bad teachers in that. So you never can be 100%, but check your teachers out. Don't just pick up somebody who has like one practitioner training and one master practitioner training, or if they only have one teacher. They need a good trainer is going to have multiple teachers, have attended multiple practitioner, multiple master practitioner, and hopefully quite a bit of advanced training. A bad teacher can mess with your head, waste a lot of your money, steer you in the wrong direction. And to me, really bad teachers, even the ones who are highly skilled, they might be highly skilled, but they might be bad teachers. And a bad teacher to me is someone who might even be holding you back from getting good at NLP. They're making you feel like you know it when you really don't. And they're constantly selling you the next program, that if you just do this program, if you just do their next program, if you just give them a few $1,000s more, then you'll hit that point where you can then finally use NLP to create the life you desire and convince anybody to do anything and hit the sales goals you want to hit and have outrageous amounts of money and popularity. Be careful of that, the constant upsell. It's normal in a business to upsell people on things, but if you get the sense that they're holding you back, then definitely move on to a different teacher. And the third and final tip, if you're looking into starting NLP training, I would not take a training that is any less than 18 days long. That might seem kind of long, and they now have practitioner certification trainings that are done in 7 days or as few as 3 days. And I just think that's really absurd. There's no way you can really get good at this stuff in such a short amount of time. Less than 18 days, yeah, my first practitioner training was, I believe, 22, 23 days long, and you just can't get the stuff down. That tells me that there's not a whole lot of supervised practice in that training if it's less than 18 days. NLP trainings used to be 30 days long whenever NLP first started. Now, the technology has grown considerably over the past 40 plus years, and yet the trainings have shrunk. So what does that mean? Well, that means that like any other entrepreneur, NLP trainers want to make a lot of money. They want to work the least amount and make the most amount of money. As a result of that is they're just kind of speeding through it. They're not really taking the time to make sure the students really learn it, and as a result, they're turning out practitioners who aren't very skilled. And the NLP field as a whole has suffered quite a bit over the past 20 years, probably, from this practice. So it's kind of the business model that is hurting it as well. So there are fewer and fewer practitioner trainings that are being taught for like more than 10 days. They do exist, and I would recommend that you look for the ones that are longer with a good teacher that's backing. So that's where to start in your NLP journey. So where does it end? Well, it doesn't end. I would recommend that it never end for you. I recommend that if you have taken a lot of trainings and you don't feel skilled, then maybe you need to go back and repeat some of those trainings and work on those skills and really practice those skills. If you have plenty of training and you have plenty of skills under your belt, NLP is a lot like Zen. Zen monks don't reach a point where they stop meditating or they stop practicing Zen. It just goes deeper and deeper for them. You don't need to learn new processes, or you don't even need to create new processes to become better at NLP. The more you practice, the deeper you can go with NLP techniques and skills. Just keep going down that path. For a lot of us, we become teachers because you learn NLP from a different perspective and a different angle. That might be your path, it might not be your path. I would say if you don't know, give it a try and see. Also coaching is a way to advance your NLP skills. I would go back and do more trainings. I repeat basic level trainings all the time just to get a sense, to put on that beginner's mind, that student mindset. And I'm always a student. Maybe I'm a teacher as well, but I'm always a student because there's always more to learn. The best NLP teacher is yourself. You've been doing NLP your whole life. NLP is modeled around the human experience. So you've been experiencing life ever since you were born. So technically you've been doing it. You've been doing NLP since you were born. Get in touch with that and use that to help you. You go to more than one teacher. The worst thing I see is students sticking with one teacher. Some of these NLP teachers are very charismatic and are very good at convincing you that they have NLP right. So there's no reason to go to any other teacher. And that's just bullshit. It doesn't matter how good your teacher is, and even if every other teacher is not as good as your teacher, those other teachers can provide an NLP perspective that you don't have yet. And when you get NLP from multiple perspectives, it just adds dimension to your understanding of NLP and to your practice. So you should be going to multiple teachers, and any teacher who tells you you shouldn't, or they try to tell you that you don't need to go to another teacher, don't listen to them. Go to another teacher, get NLP from multiple perspectives. Check out our website, nlp-gym.com. A lot of you have started to ask about the practitioner training that we'll be doing with NLP Gym. Unfortunately, I don't have all the details ready for you just yet. I know it's going to be January 2017, and Judy Delosier as well as Sid Jacobson have signed on to be guest trainers. It will be 24 days long. It'll be over an 8-month period. It'll be 8 3-day weekends, and then, of course, it'll be taught here in Santa Cruz. Follow us on Facebook to get real-time updates on free practice sessions and on upcoming workshops like the practitioner training. Also, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And stick to the end of this video. You'll see an opportunity to get your hands on a free online NLP training. Take care.